Melanie, and today I want to tell you something that has become an absolute truth for me. After getting to know the world of high ticket sales, I knew I could never go back to a traditional 9-to-5 job. And believe me, I don't say this lightly. I'm not saying it because it sounds cool or because I want to convince you to make the same choice I did. I'm saying this because I've lived both lives. So I spent years in the traditional world of work, with fixed hours, strict rules, and that security that they teach you to seek from childhood. And then, one day, I decided to try remote closing. So if you're curious to find out if this world could be an alternative for you too, stay with me until the end, because I believe this conversation could really spark a new perspective in you. In this video, I want to be totally honest with you and speak without filters, no magical promises, just the reality of two words in comparisons and why I choose to never look back. When I talk about 9 to 5, I'm not just referring to office hours, I'm talking about a real system, a way of life that gives you the illusion of stability, but at the same time consumes you day after day. So my experience began like this. With an internship at a hotel, I would wake up early, put on my uniform and leave the house when it was still dark outside. And I remember I would eat breakfast quickly, maybe grab a coffee on the go, and already I was feeling the anxiety of the day ahead. And I had 10 hours on my feet, 6 days a week for $250 a month. So the salary was so low that at the end of the month I realized I had basically worked for free. And yet I kept going because I told myself it's normal, that's how you have to start, right? Even when I moved to a more prestigious job at a large tourism agency, the situation didn't change much because sure, I was earning more, and from the outside it looked like I was advancing my career. And I remember people saying to me, wow, you're so lucky, what a dream job. But the reality behind the scenes was so different because I had constant stress, phone calls at all hours, clients to deal with even at night, days off that were never really days off. I remember once planning a dinner with a friend I hadn't seen in a long time. I was so happy that I had finally decided to give myself 2 hours of distraction from work. And guess how it went? After less than half an hour, the phone started ringing. A customer had, of course, an urgent problem, and I had to drop everything and rush to solve it. This was literally my day off, a typical day off. So that was one of the moments when I realized that even though the contract said 40 hours a week, I was actually working 24/7. And that's one of the biggest problems with 9 to 5, because they give you a fixed salary, but in return they want your life, not just your time in the office, but also your mental energy, your weekends, your dreams. And at the end of the month, no matter how hard you work, the amount in your account will always be the same. So you can work overtime, you can sacrifice yourself, but you remain trapped in a grid of limitations. Then there is another thing, the fear. So the fear of asking for a day off, the fear of disappointing the boss, and the fear of making a mistake. I constantly live with the fear of not being good enough, of not doing enough, of being replaceable, and that really wears you down because you're not just working, you are putting your life on hold to fulfill someone else's dreams. So the 9 to 5 gives you clear rules, yes, it gives you a routine that seems secure, but behind that security there is a very high price: your freedom, your time, your vital energy. And in the long run you realize that stability isn't real stability because it's a kind of anesthesia. It doesn't let you collapse, but it doesn't let you fly either. So in high ticket sales, none of this happens. You are, I can say, the CEO of your own life. I want to start from the basic. What is high remote closing? I really want to explain it. It's not telemarketing, it's not cold calling strangers, it's not convincing someone to buy something they don't want. Closing means guiding people who have already shown interest in a high value product or service or course or consulting program that start at $3,000, $5,000, even $10,000 or more, and helping them to make an informed decision. So the huge difference compared to a traditional job is that here you are not paid for the time you spend at the desk, but for the results you deliver. Because in an office you can give your all or do bare the minimum and your salary at the end remains the same. But in closing, every skill, every improvement, every effort translates directly into your earnings. So imagine this. In the 9 to 5 job, you earn, for example, a fixed $1,500 or $2,000 per month, period. But as a closer, if you close $5,000 program with a 10% commission, you've made $500 in a single hour long call. So if you close 2 deals that day, that's $1,000, right? So now try to compare that to a week's work in an office. How long would it take you to earn that amount? And the incredible thing is that there is no upper limits. In a 9 to 5 job, even if you work your butt off, your salary is always the same. And in closing, the better you get, the more you can grow and the more, of course, you can earn. So we are not just talking about money. I want to say that we are talking about freedom, because you can work anywhere, from home, from cafe, from another city, or while traveling. And all you need, of course, is a computer and an internet connection. Another aspect that changes completely is this one. In remote closing, you don't have to create opportunities from scratch, because the companies you work with have already done the marketing. They already attracted interested people who have asked for information and really want a solution. So your job is not to invent work or fill hours in front of a computer, but to turn that interest into a concrete decision. In a 9 to 5 office job, on the other hand, you often spend your days doing endless tasks. So reports, emails, meetings, activities that keep you busy, but rarely give you the satisfaction of immediate results. And that's the difference, because in closing, every single call can bring you a tangible results, while in a traditional work, you feel that no matter how much you do, nothing ever really changes. And then there is the personal growth, of course, because in a 9 to 5 job, you learn to do a task and you repeat it endlessly. After a few years, you have become good at it, but you stay the same. But in closing, on the other hand, you can learn something new every day. So how to listen better, how to communicate more clearly, how to understand people. And these are skills that are not only valuable at work, but throughout your life, because they make you more confident, more capable of handling difficult conversation, better at truly understanding who you are dealing with. So to sum up, in a 9 to 5 job, you are paid for your time, but in closing, you are paid for results. In a 9 to 5, you have fixed hours, but in closing, you have total freedom. In a typical job, you have a fixed salary, but in closing, there is no ceiling on your earnings. In an office job, you learn a role, of course, but in closing, you grow totally as a person. And at the end, in a 9 to 5 job, you fill your days, but in closing, every action has a real impact. That's why I always say that once you try remote closing, you can look at work at the same way again, because you realize that there is a concrete, real alternative that allows you to live and not just work. So now I want to give you a concrete comparison, because often we hear about freedom or high earnings and it all seems abstract. Instead, you experience the difference between a 9 to 5 job and remote closing every single day, from the moment you open your eyes, in the moment like you turn off your computer and at night and you go to sleep. Imagine a typical 9 to 5 day. So you wake up early, maybe at 6:30 or 7 a.m. and your first concern is not what to do I want today, but I have to hurry because I start at 9. A quick breakfast, traffic, crowded transportation, and you arrive at the office already tired. Then you clock in, turn on your computer and read your emails. The first few hours pass with endless meetings and respective tasks, so writing reports, filling out Excel spreadsheets, and responding to requests that could often be avoided. And the worst part is that even if you work as hard as you can, at the end of the day, your work is the same, because your salary remains unchanged. You can work 8 hours or 12 hours, give it your all or do the bare minimum, but at the end of the month, you will have the same amount in your paycheck. So in the evening, you come home tired after feeling like you haven't really lived. So you just have time to cook something, watch some TV, and go to sleep, ready to start again the next day. And now imagine a day as a high-ticket closer. What happens? Your alarm clock is no longer dictated, right, by a time card, but it's only dictated by your decision. Now imagine the day as a high-ticket closer. First of all, your alarm clock is no longer dictated by a time card, but by your own decision. You open your computer, check your calendar, you have maybe 3 or 4 calls scheduled with people who have requested information about a course, consultation, or program. You don't have to make cold calls, you don't have to chase anyone. You talk to people who want to listen to you, who are looking for a solution. You get ready, maybe have a coffee, and then get on your first call. So you listen, ask questions, understand the customer's needs, and if the product is right for them, you guide them in their decision. You end the call, and if all goes well, you have just earned $500 or maybe $1,000 in an hour. So you have an hour free before your next call, so you can go out for a walk, go to the gym, read a book, and no one tells you that you have to sit in front of a screen just to fill hours. And the best part is the feeling of control, because you're not trading time for money, you are using your skills to create real value. In a 9-to-5 job, your days are all the same. So you wake up, work, get tired, repeat. In closing, however, every day can be a different. A call that changes your month, a free morning to travel, an afternoon dedicated to your personal growth, and of course, it's not a job without commitment. It requires discipline, preparation, and resilience. But the difference is that here you immediately see the link between your commitment and your results. And I often ask myself, do I really want to spend the next 10, 20, 30 years like this, with days that are all the same, chasing deadlines that don't change my life? So the answer was, of course, no. That's why when I experienced what it means to be a closer, I realized I could never go back. So far, I've shown you the practical differences between a 9-to-5 day and a closer's day. But now I want to go deeper, because the real benefits of, high-ticket closing don't stop at flexibility or high earnings. They're much more than that. So the first and perhaps most important is freedom. So when you work a 9-to-5 job, your life is organized around work. Fixed hours, vacation that must be requested months in advance, breaks decided by someone else. In closing, the opposite happens, because work adapts to your life. You want to travel? You can do it. All you need is an interconnection and a phone or a laptop. You want to take a morning off to spend more time with your family? You can do that too, because no one will ask you for an explanation. This is no small difference, it's the thing that changes everything, because time doesn't come back, and being able to manage it yourself, it's the real luxury in life. The second benefit is meritocracy. In a 9-to-5 job, you can be the hardest working person in the office, but your salary will be almost the same as that of your colleague who does the bare minimum, right? I think to every one of you happens the same. In closing, on the other hand, your results speak for themselves. If you improve, you earn more. If you close more deals, your earning grows. So you don't depend on recommendations, titles, or years of seniority. You depend only on yourself. And that's a powerful feeling, because for the first time, you understand that you're truly the master of your own destiny. And another huge benefit is growth, because in a 9-to-5 job, you often learn to perform a specific task and repeat it for years. It's useful, of course, but limiting. On the other hand, in closing, you learn transferable skills, because these skills are valuable everywhere. So how to communicate better, how to really listen, how to handle objections, how to read between the lines of what a person is saying to you. So these are skills that not only make you a better professional, but also are a more aware person in everyday life. Let's also talk about money, because yes, it's an important part. So in a 9-to-5 job, you have a clear ceiling, your monthly salary. You can ask for a raise, but it will be small and rare. In closing, there is no limit. So if you close at 10,000 programs, with a 10% commission, you earn $1,000. Do this twice a week, and in a month you can earn what you need a whole year to accumulate in a 9-to-5 job. So the difference is not just financial, it's mental, because you begin to understand that it's not you who is worthless, but it's the 9-to-5 system that limits you. The long-term security, it's really also important, because many people think that 9-to-5 is more secure, but is it really? Because all it takes is a corporate crisis, a layoff, and your security disappears. Closing, on the other hand, gives you a different kind of security, the security of your skills. because once have you learned how to close sales, no one can take that ability away from you. It's a skill that will always be in demand because companies need people who can guide customers toward important decisions. Finally, the most underrated benefit, satisfaction. Because in a 9-to-5 job, how often do you end the day feeling truly proud of what you have done? In closing, every positive call gives you an immediate sense of accomplishment because you know that you haven't just made a sale, you have helped someone make a decision that could literally change their life. This feeling, believe me, is worth more than any fixed salary. It's for all these reasons that I say remote closing isn't just a job, it's a way of life. And it gives you money, yes, but above all, it gives you back what you lose day after day in a 9-to-5 job. So time, freedom, self-confidence, and the feeling of finally being in control of your life. And I want to be honest, it's not like I woke up one day and said, that's it, I'm quitting my 9-to-5 job and becoming a closer. The change was gradual because it was made up of many small moments that together created a turning point. One of the first was when I looked at my older colleagues, those who had been working in the same office for years. And of course they were intelligent, knowledgeable, experienced women, yet they were tired, stressed, often nervous, not because they weren't good at their job, but because after years their lives were still the same. So same hours, same tasks, same salary with small raises. And I thought, if I continue like this in 10 years, I will be exactly like them. Is this that I really want? So that question started to keep me awake at night. And another key moment was my first earnings as a closer. It wasn't huge amount, just a few $100s, but the point wasn't the money, it was the feeling. Because for the first time, I had seen a result linked to my direct effort, not to the number of hours I had spent working. I hadn't been paid for being there, but for what I had been able to do. And that changed me inside, totally. I thought if it happened once, it can happen again, and if I prove, the results will grow with me. Then there was also the moment when I closed my first big sale, an amount that in my old job would have taken me a whole month to earn. And you know what I felt? A mixture of disbelief and liberation. Disbelief because until recently I believed that such earnings were reserved only for businessmen, successful entrepreneurs, people with decades of experience. And the liberation because I realized that it wasn't a question of who you are or where you come from, but only of how much you are willing to learn and to grow. And then there was thought that was the definitive turning point. One day I asked myself, if tomorrow I had to go back to an office job with fixed hours and fixed salary, how would I feel? And the answer came immediately, almost violently. I would feel suffocated. So because by then I had tasted freedom and I had experienced what it means to decide how to organize my days, how to have the opportunity to travel, to see my earnings grow thanks to my skills, and not because someone had decided to give me a promotion. And when you taste this freedom, going back becomes literally impossible. I know that from the outside it may just seem like a change of job, but for me it was much more than that. It was a change of mindset, of identity. From feeling stuck in a system that didn't value me to finally feeling in control of my time and my life. That's why I say always remote closing isn't just a way to earn more money, it's a lifestyle choice. So it's a decision to no longer accept compromises that make you feel empty, to not waste years waiting for a raise that may never come, and to not put your happiness in the hands of a boss or a company. And you know what the best part is? This opportunity is not reserved for the few. You don't need a perfect resume. You don't need years of sales experience. All you need is the willingness to learn, the discipline to put yourself out there, and the courage to listen to that voice inside you that says you deserve more. Now I want to speak directly to you who are listening. Maybe you work in an office. Maybe you have a contract that gives you a fixed salary every month. Maybe you often hear people say you should be grateful, you have a secure job. And maybe you do feel that security, but at the same time, inside you, there is a voice that keeps telling you it's not enough, you deserve more. I know how you feel because I was there too. I used to say to myself, maybe this is how life is supposed to be. Maybe I just need to grit my teeth and wait for the things to get better. But the truth is, things don't get better on their own. If you don't decide to change, no one will come and free you from the desk, and no one will give you the time to travel, no one will give you the salary of your dreams just because you work hard. And that's why I say that remote closing isn't just a job, it's an open door. So it's a chance to break out of that endless cycle of waking up, going to the office, feeling tired, and going to sleep and starting all over again. It's a chance to prove to yourself that you can create a different future where you are no longer a spectator but a protagonist. So I'm not saying it will be easy. I'm not saying that you can just snap your fingers and tomorrow you will be rich and free, but I'm saying that you have a choice. So there is a word in this side where your results depend only on you, not on a boss and not on a contract. I'm saying that you can turn your determination into real freedom. Imagine a year from now. You could be in the same office with the same salary, feeling the same exhaustion and tired, or you could look in the mirror and say, I had the courage to change, I learned a new skill, and I took control of my life. And the difference between these two scenarios is not life, is not fate, is the decision you make today. I know that inside you there is a voice telling you that you deserve more. Don't ignore it. It is the most sincere voice you have. I listened to it and my life changed completely. And I want you to know that if you believe in it and decide to try, yours can change just as much as mine did. And if what I've told you has sparked even a small spark in you, don't ignore it. There is nothing worse than silencing that inner voice that tells you, try, you deserve more. You can write to me directly via DMs on Instagram. Tell me about your situation and ask me your questions. I will be more than happy to listen to you and share my experience with you without filters. Or if you feel that this could be your moment to really get started, you can apply to work with me via the link in the description. So it's a real opportunity to learn firsthand how this world works and maybe start your journey as a closer. It's not a decision you have to make today, but if you have made it to the end of this video, it means that deep down you already have the desire to change. And I want you to know that it's possible. It doesn't matter where you are starting from. It doesn't matter if you feel stuck or inexperienced. If I did it, starting with no knowledge, with thousands of fears and doubts, you can do it too. So thank you for being with me this far and see you in the next video.